Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we've got a 75-point battle report between Crucible Guard and Retribution.
So this week I'm playing my boy Adeptis Rahn. I had him paired with Ossian Shadows, and based on what Brian had, I decided to drop Rahn because I thought he might be the best into the pairing, and also because I really wanted to play Rahn. It took me a little while to figure out a list. At first, I tried rebuilding his Mark II theme list, Fires from on High. That's why I have a Hyperion where a few lights might be better. But I ended up playing Rahn with Sylys, Hyperion, double Chimera, double Dawnguard Tridents, double Ghost Snipers as a rec option, Scythe as a rec option, Hermit as a rec option, one Mechanic, and then double Electromancers. And Rahn's in this kind of weird place of he doesn't know what theme he wants to play in, because if you play with battle mages, you're of course playing in forges, and if you're not playing in forges and actually get good infantry, then you don't really have a feat. So I just wanted to try out Rahn, and Rahn was my boy back in the day. And
yeah, I mean at base you get Tridents and a TK caster.
Yeah,
so it's worth something. The list I decided to drop today was Eira Mackay in Magnum Opus. So I know a lot of people like playing her in Prima Materia. The double shield guards are nice and some of the rec options are cool, but I really like her in Magnum Opus. There's a lot of things I can get in this list that you just can't, it's hard to not take advantage of. My other list was also Magnum Opus with Silvestro, but I really just wanted to drop all these 120s, and I think that it's not a terrible matchup regardless of what Ethan dropped. So the gist is that I've got Mackay, a Vulcan, 2 Raillesses, 4 Trancers, which is one of the huge reasons for bringing this theme. The Trancer requisitions let me stay scenario relevant throughout the game because they're very difficult pieces to get rid of. And then the other big reason for being in this theme is that I get Anastasia di Bray with the reroll, and Mackay really likes going first, so that's a huge piece to have in here. In order to maintain that relevance on scenario, which this list could have some troubles with since there are a lot of points concentrated into basically 4 models, I bring a massive amount of ambush in here. So I've got my Anastasia di Bray, I've got Hutchuk, and then I've got a min unit of press gangers with Mosby in there. And that just allows me to get some late game pieces into places where my opponent might not have all the resources to deal with it. So these ambush pieces aren't really coming in super duper early unless they're going to have a profound effect on the game. So Ethan ended up winning the roll to go first on this one. I know it's shocking, right? I had my +1 to go first and the re-roll, but you ended up smoking me right out the gate with a 6, so you kind of put the pressure on right away.
I know, it feels good when you beat those themes that just innately sometimes they roll a dice to go first, and it's well, my die roll doesn't matter, so it felt good, son. I was like,
yeah,
yes.
the what is it, 16? You said 16%er? Yeah, roughly. Yeah. So also the models are going to look a little weird in this one. I think we're both really excited just to get these things on the table. So even the Hyperion, I opened up my closet and realized that it was only partially built, but the show must go on.
Yeah, I mean, his arms, they're just big meaty fists, and his gun's there because it's his big ass thing in his head. So
this is a really symmetrical scenario, right? I mean all scenarios are symmetrical right now, but we both have really similar lists. So what's your plan with turn 1 here?
My plan is to try and get up the table. I know the Vulcan threat range is ridiculous with mobility, so I need to just get up the board. I'm conceding on some sides. Tridents are in threat, but not in Mackay feat threat. So Mackay feat turn, if she gets my Tridents, they go down. But I'm thinking at least I can get up the board, stay out of Trancer charge just so they don't get some free damage, and I'm just moving up the board because you did ambush your press gangers.
Yeah, I have ambushing press gangers, Hutchuk, and Anastasia di Bray.
Yeah, so that's a lot of firepower coming in from the side, or a lot of bodies.
Yeah, a lot of bodies, not so much firepower.
No. So my main plan is I have 1 Trident on each side, 1 unit of Electromancers on each side, so whichever side he ambushes to, I can do some cute lightning generator tricks off of the Trident.
We got dueling lasers.
I don't know. And you stuck me on the side with the 2 obstructions, and that's really, really sucks.
Yeah, I did not want that side having an extra huge base over you.
I know, and like the Trident's had flight. I had measured it like with TK and running. That Trident could get on the other side of the rock, and then like it's in the dead zone. So like I couldn't even move it its full potential. That's why I didn't TK the Jack Cistern. The Chimeras are moving up aggressively just to try and maybe leverage some TK actions. And then a lot of my army is just kind of split. Like I said, Hermit went left to go to the flag just to try and also be like a nice lightning generator trick. Scythe and the Ghost Snipers are split as well.
So I don't really like playing second with Mackay. It's one of the big reasons why I play her in Magnum Opus, period, is that I really want that turn one. So I'm trying to figure out if I can go ahead and try and grab something early. Like, I'm less likely to grab the Chimeras. I have a ton of sprays, but then I'm really, really close to the Tridents, and it's not that I don't think... It's not that I'm not worried about them. Like, I don't really feel like they can single-handedly pull down one of my battle engines on their own, but I don't want to get everything that close to give Ethan the opportunity to try and whittle those down and then have the Hyperion go too, and that's kind of where I think the real like leverage is here, is that I need to respect the Tridents plus the output of the Hyperion, whereas if I can if I can get one of these Tridents on their own, then I'm probably not too worried about it. I think we're kind of both in that same position where if one of us loses a battle engine on either side, then we kind of just have that side collapse.
Yeah, as soon as one battle engine goes down, that side is screwed.
And then here's some wonderful positioning from me in that I can't actually like get Mackay to do a ton of work. I mean, I guess I can still. Like, I wanted to... I guess the wall is kind of screwing me a little bit here. So I'm completely naked right now, having put out failsafe and mobility and doing something else. Although I think that's really all I did.
Yeah, that's your stack.
And then
you allocated one to the Vulcan as well.
Oh yeah, that's right, because I don't have to allocate. It was that I was thinking about getting some damage out with the Vulcan this turn. But the issue is that if Mackay sits up there naked, she's really going to take some hits, and that's going to be from the Hyperion and the Trident. So like if I was worried about a Railless going down to that pair, then I'm worried about Mackay going down to it. So I decided to keep her behind the wall for the only reason she's back there is because I don't want her far up, not because I think she gets cover or anything. So the Vulcan ends up going up and starts putting his shots into the Trident. And these are just his big gun, and I think we end up doing quite a bit of work to that on turn one, more than probably what was expected.
You half held them. Like, I moved that guy up because, like, normally, in my head, when you play against another Colossalist, you're like, okay, if I can bait them out walking and shooting bottom of one, it kind of takes them out of the game later turns, but, like...
When you walk 8 inches, that's not always the case.
That's the problem. Like... I knew it threatened far, but like actually watching it walk up almost as far as my Colossal ran.
Yeah.
Like his walking melee threat is the same as my charge threat with my Colossal, and it's not a fun time when there's a bunch of rocks in the way for me.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of saving me a little bit. So I think the Railless on the top goes and maybe pops a shot into it, or maybe I didn't get a chance to pop a shot. I can't quite remember what happened there, but my Trancer runs up to try and engage the battle engine to be cute, and then I've got my Mechanic on a flag.
So your train on top actually you were going to shoot, then you decided just to stay back because you were going to try and drift, and I reminded you about like my force field ability spell where...
Yeah, that's right, because you can pick the direction and stuff.
Yeah, and I did put Polarity Shield on the Hyperion for what it's worth. That's why like his walk threat is more important than his charge threat. And here I'm just trying to figure out...
I think that was... you asked me if I wanted to take a chance to shoot with the Railless, and I said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we ended up taking care of it real quick, and I don't think we did a whole lot to the Trident up top. For what it's worth, I'm just going to interrupt super quick and say that the thing on the flag is a Trancer. I have 4 Trancer Dancers somewhere, but I just couldn't find all of them, so I think I just grabbed a couple Shepherds to proxy with.
Mm-hmm. So that top Chimera apparated from behind the wall to still be engaged with the Trancer because I needed to be closer to the Trancer than the Trident. Because my plan is to shoot him with a lightning generator and clear that Trancer off my flag, and then use the Chimera to go up and do some TK action. Same with the bottom. I'm planning out like lightning generators, and it's worth noting the bottom Trident rolled max tokens, and the top one rolled 2 last turn, so I know I'm going to be full on tokens with each of them. And the bottom one's going to get the opportunity to do that cute, like, activate Force Barrier before moving, and then move and go back up to full.
Yeah, which is a nice trick.
And you can't really see, like, the Ghost Sniper and Scythe behind the... Well, now you can see one of the Ghost Snipers because he just moved behind the Trident. Popping a shot into the Railless, auto 3s it, Repo 3. Because I never mentioned I am playing in Defenders, so I got Repo 3 on my solos. I mean, if you play Ret, you would have guessed it based on the Electromancers, because this is the only theme they're in. But for those who don't know, Defenders gives you Repo 3, and there's some cute stuff. You can do that, especially with Hermit, because Hermit and Scythe are friendly faction. And like Hermit, you can Whispers at the Gate, Walk 5, Repo 3, TK 2, and then fun fact on Tridents, their stupid melee attack, Smite, can work against friendlies, so you can smite the Hermit. So now that's a 10-inch plus D6 plus 5 inches on the aura threat on the ability. So like you can Whispers at the Gate from approximately 21 inches away from where he starts. Yeah, 23 if you TK the target in range.
That's pretty nice.
And now I'm taking the opportunity because like Brian couldn't move up that aggressive with Mackay. So my plan is to TK her around so that way she can't charge. And at this point, like, I don't know if she can fit her huge base over the wall just walking. But of course, like, in my head, I'm not factoring in mobility. So
yeah, it leaves like a 1-inch wiggle room.
So I do feat this turn. So that way I got a free boosted TK. And then I chain blast the mortar.
Dragon Breath Rockets, yep.
It's a mortar. And, like, because I feel like this is really the only time I'm going to get a feat. Like, my feat saved me 3 focus. Maybe more if that the secondary drift goes onto another dude, but it didn't really go anywhere. So I'm camping 2. Feeling okay about it. Like, that's the Rahn feat problem of not playing in Forges. Like, his feat just nets him 2 to 3 free focus. And that's his feat.
Yeah, it's rough. I remember Ron being such a danger in the early days.
Yeah. And we'll talk about him at the end. So there I'm rolling up shots. And as you can see, like, oh boy. Left side got 1 shot. Middle shot got 1. And then the bottom one rolled 3. So I got 5 shots. So now I'm just putting him into the train. Boosting damage. Doing okay, but I'm dice minus 6.
Yeah, 19 for the armor on those guys.
So dice minus 6. 1 shot misses. Next shot barely hits. And like I'm leaving it so far on 9.
Yeah, it's rough. I wasn't expecting those to do that much work to him. I think you might have spiked just a little bit. But still not rolling all those great shots means that I definitely underestimated the output of the Trident. So I'm I'm shaking in my boots in that bottom part of the table here.
So I did repo him forward to still be engaging the Trancer, but now the next closest model is the other Trancer. So I shoot him once, lightning generators to the Trancer, nowhere else to go. I shoot him again with the next one to lightning generator to the one on the flag. And
you leave it on 2 or 1 or something.
I leave it on 1. So, and then I actually end up doing a couple points of damage to my own Trident. That's the downgrade. Normally when I used to pull this trick is with a Sirius, so like it's on my feat turn, I'm like, well, I'm going to drop the highest damage roll.
Yeah.
So now Scythe is going up. Scythe's just shooting me a Railless. Rolling not that great, as you can tell. She did approximately 3 damage.
5 damage or something like that. It wasn't super hot for her. Now I'm feeling a little bit okay with this, and then I forget about that stupid Hyperion.
And by stupid, you mean my speed 5 mile that's now got to walk up behind the wall.
Behind over a rock, yeah.
Just to get within 12. Left side nipple gun gets 1. Right side gets 2. I believe I opt to shoot the big gun into you, hoping that maybe like that can just kill you off the bat. Because that's my best chance. Or no, I shoot the nipple gun first. It does no damage, and then I boost the big gun.
Yeah, I think you were hoping to divert the big gun into the Vulcan, but then you were like, well, I guess I have to use the big gun to kill the Railless.
And you have failsafe on it, so
Yeah.
like my little guns are dice -8.
Yep, and I think you just did. You plunked me for like 3 damage with it, so it wasn't huge.
Yeah, my guns are dice -8, and he ignores crippled systems, so like that thing's not going down anytime soon.
Yep, and it's going to be dangerous the entire game.
Yeah, and there's nothing really I can do against it in this list. So now the other unit of Electromancers are going. They E-leaped off the Chimera to hit the Trancer. So that was their job. And now they're positioned backwards a little bit. Both of them stayed out of ambush threats, both units. So now they are just positioned for wherever the ambushers go to maybe help deal with them.
I think that proxy was just you were asking me if Mackay can get over the wall and into the zone, and I could get over the wall, but not quite into the zone, but I could with Repo.
I think I was measuring out her feet threat because I wanted to move up the Trident, and I could have went for the other Railless, but with no other support up there, I'm not going to get enough damage on it. So my plan is, like, this Trident's on half health. I need him to do as much damage to this Vulcan before he dies as he can. Because if the Vulcan, because I don't think you can one round a Railless.
Yeah, I don't think so. Even though you rolled decent on your shots, you got 7 out of this one, and I just don't think it can do it.
No, I have no faith. And as you can see here, like, he's not doing very well. He ended up doing maybe 15 boxes.
You were hitting better than you were doing damage, yeah.
Yep. My unboosted damage rolls did better than my boosted damage rolls. I remember this because I made a comment and I was like, is this really happening? So that Trident's like literally half health. He's on 15 boxes from the Vulcan just shooting without feet.
All right, so starting my second turn being down 1 Railless is not the most amazing place in the world to be, but I probably could have played it back a little further and stopped some of the damage coming in, but it is what it is. So now I've just got to try and do what I can with what I've got here, and my goal right now is to try and use the Vulcan and the 1 Railless that I have on the top to try and collapse that side of Ethan's, because I've got a ton of ambushers that can come in and do work, which I think Anastasia's coming in now because she's going to try and shoot something that's on the flag off of it, or at least be a contesting piece.
The ghost sniper, he moved to the flag.
Oh yeah, that's right. So that's her job, and then Hutchuk comes in on the bottom side. You can't quite see him on off the screen because of the way we position the camera, but his goal is to rust the other battle engine, and then Mackay should be able to get some shots into it to deal with it, but mostly her goal is going to be to try and get rid of the Chimera and make sure that the flag can be a little bit more safe for, because I do think your Trident's within contesting range of the flag, or if it isn't, it might just be barely in. I can't quite remember if you positioned it to contest or not.
I don't think it is, because I had the position to get... Or no, I think he is. It's just like he's positioned in this weird way where the Trancer was closer than the flag. So he's within 4 of both. It's just now Mackay is going, so...
Yep, and Mackay is feeding right now. This way I can try and get the damage to go through on the Chimera, since I've got, only 3 attacks that are going into it, and then my big gun should be able to do quite a bit of work elsewhere too. And it does catch both the Tridents, and it catches the Hyperion, but I don't imagine that I'll be able to get enough work to go through both Tridents and the Hyperion. If I had the other Railless, 100% for sure this could happen. But Ethan lets me roll back a little bit and let me go with Hutchuk first, so I can walk up and then try and rust shot the Trident. And I think I do a decent amount of damage on that shot, even because
Rust doesn't do damage.
Or no, yeah, that's right. Never mind.
You drift, but then we're like, well, you can't drift off.
Yeah, I can't drift off of you. So now we are rolling back to Mackay's activation to see where she's going to go. And I think I'm kind of hemming and hawing a little bit here on how I want to do things with the rest of my army, or what it is I actually want to try. Oh, we were asking if it was boosted or additional damage, and it's just boosted. It has been a while since I've played Mackay. I think the last time I played her was when she released at Warmachine weekend, like forever ago. So this is like a homecoming for me, getting back to the good old Crucible Guard.
And it's worth noting you did end up going with the flare shot, because I think you were going to do a spray, and I was like, are you sure you don't want to do the flare shot?
Yeah.
Because every time I play into Mackay, like, for some reason, people forget the big gun has flares, so they always want to do the sprays first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, well, they miss by 1 or 2, and that's like, oh, I have flare.
Yeah. So the flare shot goes out first on the Trident and does some damage to it, but not a ton from what I recall. I should probably be more... I guess it does a lot of damage. Never mind.
Yeah, you ripped it off with just Mackay, so that was fun.
Yeah, the Chimera though I think has like a couple boxes left, so that's the one that I was really trying to get out of here, and I accidentally just get the Chimera instead, and accidentally get the battle engine instead. So that was fun. I did forget that happened in this game. We're probably like maybe a few days behind recording this than what we should, but. So that was a nice little bonus. Rust plus the feat made it so that it was a little bit easier to happen. So I'm definitely happy with how that turned out. And now I think I might be trying to figure out, maybe I had a shot left over or something.
You were figuring out run and gun, because at first you moved back the full distance.
Yeah.
I was like, then my Trident's out of your feet. And you're like, oh, and then you're like, well, do I want to keep him in the feet? And I'm like, he's got 15 boxes, like... from a Vulcan that wasn't in your feet.
It was me getting a little greedy with Mackay here. So I decided to back her up, and I've still got the Chimera, but I decide to use the Trancer to try and charge into the Chimera to take it off the table, and it works, but we end up killing the Trancer because of all the damage that it took before with the mental force. So that means that I've still got my mechanic here to run up to the flag and kind of make sure that I'm still scoring it. So at least I've got that point secured, which is really good, because the biggest thing I've got on Ethan right now is time, even though my clock is whittling down a little bit. But we're both one battle engine down. He has way less of them than I do. So when I say way less, he's got at least one less than I do, right? So that puts me in a really good spot now. We've kind of traded that side, and I don't need to worry about it collapsing anymore because we're both kind of like slap fighting over there with our solos. It's just that I've got, an 8-box Arm 16 solo with Tough over there. So now we're coming down to the bottom with Anastasia, and I can't quite get close enough to the Ghost Sniper to charge it, so I just walk up and throw my knife. I end up connecting and take that off of the table. It was kind of a lucky shot, I think, but I was in your back arc, so it wasn't that lucky. Now we've got the other Railless coming up and starting to take its shots into the Trident. And
I shooting the Chimera.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. I wanted to try and get rid of all of your arc nodes because that Chimera is in the way of the Vulcan from getting anywhere further. Because I would rather get rid of your arc nodes. And that arc node's still in Mackay's feet, so that makes it a little bit easier for him to do. I was kind of hoping that this would go a little bit quicker, even though it didn't take forever for that to happen. So I end up getting one extra shot to go out into the Trident, and I think that the damage was pretty decent on it. I think it was dice minus 4 with a POW 14.
Dice minus 4 with the shield.
Yep, so that put five extra damage, so it's on 10 boxes right now, which I'm pretty happy about. So now the Vulcan decides to back up a little bit because I don't want to be eating charges from the Hyperion. So I'm still in the zone, but still affecting the Trident with all of my guns. So my first shot here, I decide to throw, of course, the Rust shot in. And I think this is where I kind of get a little bit greedy because I've been doing really well with all my other shots. Like unassisted, I took down the Ghost Sniper, and Mackay ended up taking out the Dawnguard Trident and the Chimera all on her own, and then the other Railless took that out too. So I end up missing with the gun because I don't boost it, and you can see my damage rolls here are not doing super hot. So I throw the next shot, or I reload after throwing all of the sprays and everything, and I do hit, but now I need to roll some really hot dice in order to take this thing out because I think it's I haven't done anywhere near enough damage to it to be able to try and do a ton of work here. So I don't kill it. I think I leave it on one box.
Yep, because I Hermit the reload shot because your rush shot drifted max distance to go off of it.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
And then you had to do your sprays first. You reloaded, and it was like, it's on one box. I'm like, I'm going to Hermit that.
Yep. So that was unfortunate. I should have just boosted the 6 to know that I go for... Because if I take out the Raillesses here, I think that's like a massive almost game over for you. Or I mean, if I take out the Trident, sorry, because you have so little left to do anything with, and I've still got 3 120s.
Yep.
So unfortunately, I have to pass the turn with that Trident still kicking around in one box.
It is worth noting the Trident is corroded on one box, and then I roll it and it goes out, and I was like,
that was my one moment where it could have been cool.
That's why I had to debate even hermiting it, because I'm like, if it dies the corrosion after I waste hermit on this, it's gonna be like such an embarrassing thing.
Yeah, you'll be morally defeated.
But now, like, I get a Trident for an extra turn where I did not expect that one to live at all. Like, the bottom one I thought would be fine, and the top one I thought would die a horrible death, and it's weird how that flip-flopped.
Yeah, joke's on you, huh? For what it is worth, I did go up to 2 that turn and contested every other piece that you had.
Yep, and now, like, Rahn, I'm going to try and maybe clear that flag with, like, a boosted Chain Blast. And Rahn has to get into my zone because I got nothing left over there to score the rectangle, and I really don't want Hyperion going over.
Yeah, he's too many points that needs to do a lot of work to be screwing around in that zone.
So Ghost Sniper goes up, tries to pop. I believe that's...
it's a grunt from the Dragon's Breath crew.
Oh, yep. And roll Snake Eyes, because my plan was to score the middle, score my flag, score the rectangle, and try and go up 3, maybe even 4 points this turn, because I'm thinking about getting a solo on his flag. And now that just missed the dude in the zone, so now he's
you
alive.
only needed like a 5, but he was lucky.
So now the Lightning Generator boys are going up. They hit. They're doing Pulse Fire. The first one gets 3 shots, or 3 hits. And I believe there we had to change the battery on the camera. The Pulse Fires do kill Hutchuk. So now Rahn is going up. He has to TK himself so I don't get Arcane Secrets to get distance to get into towing the zone. And they boost a Chain Blast, which is range 12 thanks to Sylys being there. Scythe walks up, shoots the dude in the zone, kills him, gets to running gun to the flag. So bam, now I've scored 2. And now I just need to get a solo on my flag because Anastasia's not within 4.
She's not, yeah. She had to back up a little bit for whatever reason. Or she didn't repo forward anymore. I just forgot about that theme benefit.
So now Hyperion's going up. Again, he's putting shots into the Vulcan because I need to get damage into it while I can. And he blows up damage with the big gun. And now, like, I finally take it out one side. So now I'm just boosting nipple guns into it at dice -8. And then... now, like, once I ran out of boosts, I'm just rolling dice, trying to crack some free damage. So it's about on 25-ish boxes.
Yeah, something like that.
So, again, this Trident decides he's got no tokens. He rolls 3, and he charges a Vulcan.
This is your YOLO moment.
Yep, because I'm like, I got to do it. I got to contest your zone. He charges, gets 3 shots on one side, 1 on 1, and I believe the top one is a 2. So his charge attack does like a couple points of damage.
Your charge attack, it does a lot.
Yeah. At dice -5.
Yeah,
because it's about 16.
You blew it up hard.
And now, like, all of his little gunshots, he's boosting. There's my last boost. And now I got he's only on 4 boxes, so I got a couple shots left, and then I miss. So, like, his Vulcan is on 4, but it's fully functioning because of the spell.
Yeah, failsafe keeps him up and at him.
Failsafe Colossals are just so good.
Yeah.
And then, so, like, again, like, that train on top is still full health, but I thought if I can pull the Vulcan down, that the Hyperion would be relatively safe, and by relatively, I mean, like, Mackay would spend a whole activation shooting it, and then, like, do it again next turn, and then maybe it'd still be alive. So here, I opt to just contest my flag because he still has the press gangers, and originally I was going to run the Hermit, to get within 4 of Anastasia and Lightning Generator off her, but then I decide, screw it, I need points, so I just run Hermit to the flag, so now I score 3.
So I get to live the dream of having my Colossal alive still. So, like, if I would have lost the Colossal here, I think there'd be a lot of things that I wouldn't be able to do that I'm going to. I mean, just, like, having 2 battle engines with no real way to deal with this Hyperion would be really not fun. So I decide to try and figure out where Mackay needs to go this turn because there's a lot of things that I want to do with her, and she's really the only one that's, like, set to go to that other side. And I feel like if I do, based on the way the Hyperion's positioned, that she's going to be pretty safe from any kind of weird assassination potential outside of Ron spiking a bunch of shots, even though he doesn't have his feet anymore. But I do decide to ambush the press gangers in because with Ethan going up 3 and me being at 2 and running out of solos for flags, I want to make sure that I don't fall behind in scoring it all, because that's really the one way that I'm going to slip this game with having as much on the table as I have, because at 100% that Trident's going down this turn somehow. Like, it's just going to happen. But then I just need to be able to fight through the Hyperion and making sure that I can get rid of Ethan's scoring pieces. So,
yeah, and I forgot to repo that Trident, so that's why it's in Trancer charge threat.
Yep, and I was hoping to just grab it for nothing with the Trancer, but I think after Mental Force, I end up not breaking damage at all either. Like, it just wasn't... It was a really unfortunate roll. So the Trident's still there, so your repo didn't do a ton. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it could have been good for me to just grab that for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing here is that I believe there's... this was where I thought Alyce was maybe going to spend the turn hulking out so she could jump up and over the Vulcan to get the Railless, but I opted to keep her as she was just because Mackay needs to do a lot of work this turn, so making sure that the Vulcan gets allocated that focus is a little bit more important to me than making sure that I can get a Railless or get the Trident for nothing. So my grand strategy over here is to get Mackay up and start taking off solos. Scythe is the first one to go down, and then I'm hoping to get the Ghost Sniper as well. Or maybe this was just me shooting one of the little flamers into the Trident, so she ended up taking that off herself. Unfortunately, I can't get her to the flag this turn, but she's feeling pretty safe here behind the rock. I don't think there's a way that the Hyperion can get to me outside of shooting, and with both the Tridents down, it's really unlikely that Mackay's going to die after this turn. I think she might be camping like 1 or something like that also, since I didn't have to really do a whole lot to get her to do work this turn. Otherwise, I think my Railless on the bottom is starting to like just put damage into the Hermit, because I have like 4 shots with this thing, and I figure that even though it's like taking a battle engine to deal with a Hermit, there's not really much else that I'm going to do over here, and then that leaves me the ability to get Anastasia in and kill the Hermit and then get on that flag so that I can actually score it, because I think that the Soulless Escort is just outside of being able to contest the flag. Either that or it's just in and the Railless is trying to deal with it now.
The Soulless is in, and you're shooting it with the big gun, which I didn't space enough, so it is going to clip an Electromancer.
Yeah, it grabs 2 of them for sure. So I end up doing everything I need to. I think the Hermit's sitting on 1 right now. I think the Soulless didn't quite die that turn.
Oh, you missed?
Yeah.
And then like I get the pick.
Yeah, in the direction. So it was just the distance. I needed the distance to work out, but it just didn't. So Anastasia does get rid of the Hermit and is on the flag at least, and the Railless is contesting the flag also. So there's a lot of beef over there, and this is the Vulcan going up because he's the one who's got to try and deal with the Soulless to get rid of it so that I can score this flag and kind of even up that scoring game again. Essentially here what I'm doing with my 120s is trying to block it off so that Ethan can't get into my square zone with his 120. And I end up clearing out what I need to there and then take the rest of my shots into the Hyperion. And then the small jiggle there was that I just had wanted to like get it in the right position because I just didn't have it in the right spot at first. It's so easy to just go forward and face forward. But we start taking the shots into the Hyperion with the rush shots, of course. And we don't do too bad on it. We do more damage than what I thought I was going to. And... yeah, that's kind of where he's sitting right now. So essentially I've got the top zone's looking pretty good right now. There's a couple of Electromancers that are up, which shouldn't have too many issues getting rid of Anastasia, but she is not easy to get rid of. So I'm happy with that. I'm scoring my bottom zone, and then I just run press gangers. I did mini feat with Mosby this turn to give them 4+ tough with no knockdown. I spaced them out to where I think I might be safe from the E-leaps, and I'm just going to be really annoying down there.
Yeah, and your Vulcan shots actually, like, you took out the shield on Hyperion and you did like extra damage through with just like instant, like
incidental shots. Well,
Yeah.
they're kind of incidental, but for him, it's still like a POW 16, right?
Like you weren't focusing on him. Like that's my
Yeah,
like,
he
logic.
wasn't the goal, but it was nice to kind of get some extra damage in on the side. We did work to where it's not going to be extremely difficult for one of my other 120s to take him down later.
And then like we accidentally hit the shrub, and then now we're like trying to figure out where it originally was.
Yeah, we didn't like stop the camera and look at where it was. We just kind of like guesstimated, and I think based on that, it looks like we kind of got it right.
Maybe if somebody goes back and look, they'll see. Because now, for like where it is now, I can get both 120s with my Colossal.
Yep, and this was my positioning error, is that I really didn't want to make it so that the Hyperion could get both of them. I should have done this a little bit differently, but yeah, you do what you got to do.
So I did shoot the big guy, or the Railless, to E-leap into
Anastasia.
Yep. And originally, like, they had hoped to run to the middle zone to score it if I could kill this Vulcan, which it should go down.
Yeah, it's 4 boxes left at arm 21.
So I do charge over to there. I have to charge the Railless based on my facing. With concentrated power, I'm dice +5.
Yeah, so the Railless gets hurt pretty hard.
Or I'm POW 20. Yeah, I'm POW 23, so dice +4.
You did get him with your initials, so like that I was kind of hoping that maybe it would last a little bit longer than that, but you are wasting focus at least in that it took 1 extra buy into the Vulcan, so now you don't have anything to do over there and you're facing not a great direction.
Yeah, and I've wasted a lot of clock this turn. As you can see, like, I'm about to go sub 8 minutes, and I still have to try and clear my bottom zone.
Yeah, those are, even though they're Sea Dogs, because I don't have press gangers right now, they're still pirates. They're press gangers with their massive 5+ tough at def 13.
So I do Arcane Secrets, and the thing is, like, I have to get away from Mackay, because, like, Mackay will just rock Ron off the table. So Ron walks through the woods. He wanted the Chain Blast Mosby out. You can't see him. He's in the bottom corner, but there's dudes in the way, so I have to Chain Blast somebody else who's in front of Mosby. It hits, and then the secondary drift goes straight back onto Mosby.
Yeah, it was really a really unfortunate drift for me because I was hoping that he would last a little bit longer here.
So I'm planning a boost because I need 2 to TK me out of the woods to get away, and then you do fail your tough for Mosby at least.
Yeah, for Mosby, yep. So I think the one thing to explain real quick while we're here is that Mosby's mini feat for the good stuff says that while the unit's in formation, not while they're in his command. So with him gone, we still played it with the 4-up tough, no knockdown, but there's a chance we might have done it wrong. I think we were just working with what we had.
They don't get the 4-up tough.
Or no, they just get no knockdown. They don't get 4-up.
Because the 4-up tough is for everyone in his command, not just his Miles in his unit.
Yep.
But the no knockdown tough just says while in formation. So there, 1 guy or 2 guys in the back aim. The front one who's engaged just walks back, and now there's something going. Oh, I think this is where
we had the discussion on Mosby's thing. There's a good chance that I didn't have the no knockdown here because I think he would have to be there in order to have one of those elixir things up or whatever. But I'm not 100% sure.
So I'm just going through doing some lightning generator shots, shooting guys in the back to try and leap forward. And like my clock is just ticking down. Like I wasted so much clock this game. And getting a couple good leaps. And I think one of them actually ends up leaping into Ron. And then there you make a couple tough checks. And I believe Ron took like a couple points of damage.
Yeah, not a ton. It was just a little bit. So
Ghost Sniper runs to your flag just so I can score a point.
So I think we're at like 3-3 right now.
I'm up 4-3.
Okay, 4-3. And the Hyperion's in your center zone, so there's not really much I can do there. I did opt to Hulk out with Alyce this turn because she's going to try and make it so that you can't score that bottom zone real easily. So I'm going to try and put her in weird spots so that the Hyperion can't easily get to her. I end up opting to charge my press gangers in just to try and get some damage on Ron. I didn't think that I was going to be able to actually kill him here. It was just more so to get some things to tie him up so that you have to deal with him, because the one thing that you had pointed out earlier is I've got almost 8 times the amount of time that you do. Like, I'm sitting over here on 16 minutes and things are looking good. So the next cute thing that I decided to do is charge Mackay into the Ghost Sniper, bulldoze it a little bit so I can get onto the flag, even though I could have repoed onto the flag. And then I knock him out, and then I think I use... I probably should have maybe done this earlier in the turn before the press gangers went, so I could try and get some damage in with her guns a little bit. But I think she just kind of just sits there and is hanging out on the flag. This way I can score it and make sure that I don't fall behind in the long term, because we are on turn like 5 or so. I think we're turn 4 or 5. I can't remember.
Turn 4.
And I know that one of the things that Ethan enjoys doing is trying to win by getting a little bit over scenario when you're on low time and just bapping the clock back and forth. So I just need to make sure that I need to not lose that way. So I decide to get the flag, and then I put some, I think whatever you had in the circle zone, no, that's later, but I just have Alyce towing my zone behind the forest.
So I got to move fast. I allocate 2 to the Hyperion, because my goal, Hyperion tramples, buys an attack, boosts the hit, POW 21, misses. So, like, it tilts me a little bit, because my plan was, if I score that top zone, now I can start the flipping, because I run Electromancers, score that flag, or score the central. I'm going to score my flag next turn with the Arcanist. The Ron goes, he has to put a boosted Chain Blast, I want to say, and then the blast damage kills those. He's immune to blast damage. And then he TKs himself, and then he walks to get around the woods, because my also fear is, like, Mackay's just going to kill me.
Yeah, she's right up there.
And then I end up flipping with 2 seconds left. And I scored another 1.
So I get to stay on my flag and score out that turn, so that's really good for me. Ethan having the circle zone isn't the greatest, but at least he wasn't able to get that Arcanist onto the flag, and I've got 13 minutes to make sure that I just don't end up losing here, because with 2 seconds left, you still can just, like, as a Warmachine player, just, like, flip it back with a second with the things you need to take care of in your turn. So
Hyperion's out of my control too, so I don't even need to power up.
Yeah, there's just you get lots of extra. You get some extra flexibility with that. So Alyce ends up jumping out of combat with the Hyperion, and I'm trying to get her into a place where, like, she's not easy to get to. And that means that zone is going to be safe for a little while. Next, I use Mackay to clear the zone and score the flag. So now we're at the point where there's really no way Ethan can get up on scenario with the time that he has. Because I'm going to continually keep scoring 1 point over there. And if he opts to run that Electromancer that's in his zone to contest my flag, that should be enough to just clock you out.
Yeah, like, when Alyce didn't die, that sealed the game in my mind. And then, like, I stopped moving as fast, because if Alyce dies, now I'm auto-scoring, and I don't have to clear the bottom zone, and, like, I would have just ran away with Ron and flip clock. But now, like, when I didn't clear the top zone, I had to try and clear the bottom zone and to get away, because, like, I couldn't have press gangers just running to contest maybe in a couple turns. Like, they had to die. And then, like you said, the Arcanist not getting to my flag, like, he was just an inch or 2 out. Like, it was a rough game.
Yeah, there were definitely some unfortunate things that ended up happening here. Alyce being missed was one. The Vulcan not taking out the Trident was one, because I think if that doesn't happen, this game goes way different too.
Yeah, and giving you, like, bottom of 1 shots with the Vulcan was a stupid mistake. Like, you half held that Trident before you feeded.
Yeah.
And, like, we had talked about, like, we had very similar lists, but you support your list a little bit better.
And I think mine has a little bit more consistent threat. Like, I only get 4 shots with all of my battle engines, but they're at least consistent shots. Like, I know what I'm getting out of them. Whereas, like, your battle engines have the lower POW, and they try to compensate for that by rolling random shots to spike high on them, and sometimes my armor and boxes can sometimes tank through that.
Yeah, and Ron doesn't really crank damage. That's why he's in this kind of weird place. Like after the game we had talked about, I'm like, I could name 5 casters off the top of my head that could have ran this exact list and ran it better. Like
yeah, if you I'm plop Raven in, right?
Raven, Ossian, Assyria, Thyron, and then Kalissa, Helena. So bam, I'm up to 6. It's just Ron's in this weird. I want Ron to work. He was the guy who got me into Ret and Mark II because I loved his theme list.
He's so tricky.
He is tricky, but it's like we saw here. My feat amounted to a free boosted TK and free boosted chain blast damage on your grunts. Like, meh.
Yeah, he kind of went from being like this super powerful sorcerer, right, that can manipulate the battlefield and crank damage with battle mages, to being like the dude you hire for your kid's birthday party.
Yeah, he's just kind of woo. It's and like 100% Assyria swapped in here. Like it turns from like being a bad matchup into like I'm heavily favored because it's Assyria.
God, her blinding light, just as soon as you drop a 120 into Assyria, you're just like, well, that was a mistake.
Yep, that's why. Man, I miss playing Assyria. But Ron, like, he's just in this weird place. Like, Ret as a faction is like a combined arms faction, but themes kind of like separated the houses out. And Ron's one of those casters that got like Theme Machine screwed him over quite a bit. And I'm not even gonna bring up like the Forges Sid, because I know a lot of Ret players were unhappy with what they did to battle mages, because they turned in from this like elite skirmishing like mage unit into a screening unit.
Yeah, they turned from threats into like junky jamming pieces.
And like PP said they imagined them as a screening unit, and it's like,
nah, that doesn't
then
make
give
sense.
me a good unit in theme. Like, you can't be a screening unit and the only unit in theme besides the Arcanist unit. Like, that's their problem. Like, maybe if there was like some house guard units in the theme or just something.
Yeah, it's almost like Ret would be one of those. I know we all talk about this as the pipe dream of Warmachine, right? But like, I think Ret is probably one of the factions that would benefit the most from an Irregulars theme.
It's just like their whole conception is balanced around like when they were created, like about the houses working together. Like you got mage hunters working with sentinels and Dawnguard, and like wow, the houses mixing for a combined arms faction. It's just like the themes have kind of pushed that away. And I know like they have a Sid coming up, which I'm excited about. Glad to see like some of their stuff getting love, because me and the other Ret player in one of the groups we were going through, we were talking about what units might go through Sid, and I looked and I was like, there's maybe 4 to 5 units in Ret total that I don't think need a Sid. Like their units just aren't in a great place, and like as everyone's been saying for like the last 2 years now, Tridents are just kind of propping up everything that's bad.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to play some of the Archer dudes.
Stormfalls.
Yeah, because I love them. Like originally, like I had double Stormfalls, double Electromancers. Like this was literally a replica of this Mark II theme list, because that was what the list was. I posted it in the chat for some advice, and they're like, why aren't you playing just Tridents over the Stormfalls?
Yeah,
because the Stormfalls are Rat 5 POW 12s and
with no boosts.
And it's just like, why?
Like you're guaranteed to get more shots. More likely than not, you're going to get more shots out of a Trident than you will Stormfalls.
And 2 of their 3 shot abilities rely on directly hitting with Rat 5.
Yep.
Like,
it's a hard time for an Archer.
It is.
But overall, like I know we could complain about Ret for forever, but and this is maybe not the best thing to say, but like this Crucible Guard list is perfect. It doesn't do much, right?
Oh.
Like, I mean, it's not varied, right? If you want big booms that do lots of stuff, this is the list for you.
It's almost like your stuff was designed to work together.
Oh yeah, all at one. Yep.
And one concise package is like, if you had won the role to go first, like I legit don't know what to do.
Yeah,
like,
the Vulcan running up 16 inches is really difficult to deal with.
Like when Mackay had first released, we had mapped out like how far does Mackay double Vulcan threat top of 2? The answer is your deployment zone with spray 8s.
Yeah, there was a real like push for me to want to play double Vulcan with this list, but unfortunately I just don't have a second one yet.
And the double trans aren't bad. Mackay can boost or help their efficiency with Flare to help mitigate Rat 6, and then the feat just does work. And Mackay is like the second hardest to kill Warcaster in the game. Like, maybe if not the hardest.
If she had the ability to camp a little bit, then sure, she'd be the hardest to kill. But like
She has the most boxes.
Yeah, she does have the most boxes, highest armor, I think.
Yeah.
Outside of like Karchev, because he has unyielding.
Like, the only other caster I'm thinking of that's more survivable is Scar 3. Because she has D-Cell, and she has ability to have Sack Pawn in theme.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So, like, she's immune to guns and has D-Cell, and she can camp on feat turn.
Yeah.
Mackay is just so good.
She is a very sweet warcaster. I enjoy her quite a bit.
She's just super survivable, and, like, she has the damage output because she's a battle engine. And how many Warjack points does she have? Like 20?
I think it's 19, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's not higher than 22, and it's not lower than 15.
Yep.
So she can't bring a ton of jacks, but like she is another Railless, so she's just good. Like there's just no arguing it.
No, she is great.
I'd almost say if Sylvestro weren't in the faction, she'd definitely be number one, but I'd say that they're pretty close to tied for being number one-ish. Like Mackay, because of the output that she does and the synergy she has with her faction, but then Sylvestro just like answers every single problem. Like there's nothing that guy doesn't do.
No, and like there have been whole like episode discussions from podcasts about how amazing Sylvestro is, so I don't know like if you want to retackle that.
Yeah, no, I don't think we need to quite go there, but we could say that he's probably the best warcaster in the game.
He's the best generalist warcaster in the game. He's not the best.
I think I'll stick my flag in best.
No. I agree, like he is arguably the best like generalist all-rounder warcaster in the game that can build for anything and play into almost anything.
I guess he can't close a game out on his own. That's like his one downfall, right?
He's just immune to guns. And
yeah, he survives and everything, but he just can't close anything out on his own.
No, he's one of those casters who relies on their feet to break their opponent's army. He just has extra tricks along the way.
I know, like a feat plus healing. Geez, I don't know. We could gush over Crucible Guard forever because they're just a really good faction that is unfortunately extremely stagnant. And then as soon as you play into a list that's like, I brought a bunch of Archons, then you feel bad.
But they'll get the Death Archon soon.
Exactly. They need the Cog Archon or the Booze Archon. I don't know, drugs. Gears and drugs. They need a Dwarf Archon. Bamfist the Archon.
Then the Dwarf Archon is pew pew boy.
But then you could get 2 Dwarf Archons and Rulik wouldn't suck.
Hey, you take that back.